Welcome to SPOTO's online quiz. Today, we'll explain real certification exam questions to help you prepare with confidence. Questions 1. An administrator wants to configure dead peer detection (DPD) on IPsec VPN for detecting dead tunnels. The requirement is that FortiGate sends DPD probes only when there is no inbound traffic. Which DPD mode on FortiGate meets this requirement? A. Enabled. B. On idle. C. Disabled. D. On demand. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer, D. The on-demand dead peer detection (DPD) mode is the correct setting for this requirement. This mode operates as a reactive liveness check rather than a proactive one. In on-demand mode, the FortiGate only sends a DPD probe when it has new outbound traffic to send through the tunnel but has not recently received any inbound traffic from the peer. This check before sending mechanism is highly efficient as it verifies the tunnel's health precisely when it is needed, preventing traffic from being sent into a dead tunnel. This behavior directly matches the administrator's requirement to send probes only when the tunnel appears idle, no inbound traffic, and there is an actual need to use it. The alternative on idle mode sends probes periodically during any idle phase, regardless of whether there is new traffic to send. Questions 2. Which two statements about equal cost multipath (ECMP) configuration on FortiGate are true? Choose 2. A. If SD1 is disabled, you can configure the parameter v4 mode to volume-based. B. If SD1 is enabled, you can configure routes with unequal distance and priority values to be part of ECMP. C. If SD1 is disabled, you configure the load balancing algorithm in config system settings. D. If SD1 is enabled, you control the load balancing algorithm with the parameter load balance mode. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer, CD. These answers correctly differentiate between traditional ECMP and SD-WAN load balancing configurations on a FortiGate. Without SD-WAN, FortiGate's ECMP behavior is governed by a global system setting. The load balancing algorithm is configured under config system settings using the v4 mode parameter. This applies a single method, such as source IP-based or weight-based, to all qualifying equal cost routes across the device. Conversely, when SD1 is enabled, it provides more granular, policy-based traffic steering that supersedes the global ECMP setting. Load balancing is configured within each individual SD1 rule, also known as service, using the load balance mode parameter. This allows administrators to apply different advanced algorithms, such as volume or sessions, to specific traffic flows, offering superior flexibility and control over path selection. Questions 3. You have created a web filter profile named restrict_media profile with a daily category usage quota. When you are adding the profile to the firewall policy, the restrict_media profile is not listed in the available web profile dropdown. What could be the reason? A. The firewall policy is in no inspection mode instead of deep inspection. B. The inspection mode in the firewall policy is not matching with web filter profile feature set. C. The web filter profile is already referenced in another firewall policy. D. The naming convention used in the web filter profile is restricting it in the firewall policy. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer, B. The explanation for this behavior lies in the fundamental difference between FortiGate's inspection modes. FortiGate uses two primary modes for security profiles, flow-based and proxy-based. While flow-based is the default and offers higher performance, certain advanced features require the more thorough analysis of proxy-based inspection. The daily category usage quota feature is one such advanced function. It requires the FortiGate to authenticate users and track their cumulative traffic to specific web categories over time, a process that necessitates the full session termination and reconstruction capabilities of proxy mode. If your firewall policy is set to the default flow-based inspection, the GUI intelligently filters the drop-down list, hiding any web filter profiles containing features, like quotas, that are only compatible with proxy-based inspection. To make the profile available, you must change the firewall policy's inspection mode to proxy. Questions 4. As an administrator, you have created an IPS profile, but it is not performing as expected. While testing, you got the output as shown in the exhibit. What could be the possible reason of the diagnose output shown in the exhibit? A. There is a no firewall policy configured with an IPS security profile. B. A FortiGate entered into IPS fail open state. C. Administrator entered the command diagnose test application ipsmonitor 5. D. Administrator entered the command diagnose test application ipsmonitor 99. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer A. The provided answer is correct. The fundamental principle of FortiGate security services is that they must be applied to a firewall policy to inspect traffic. The diagnose command output shown in the exhibit, likely from diagnose test application ipsmonitor 1, would indicate that the IPS engine is running but processing 0 sessions, 0. This means that while the IPS service is active globally, no traffic is being directed to it for inspection. The most common reason for this scenario is an administrative oversight where the newly created IPS profile was not attached to any firewall policy that matches the test traffic. Therefore, the traffic passes through the FortiGate without being subjected to intrusion prevention scanning, leading to the profile not performing as expected. Questions 5. What is the primary FortiGate election process when the HA override setting is enabled? A. Connected monitored ports priority HA uptime FortiGate serial number. B. Connected monitored ports priority system uptime FortiGate serial number. C. Connected monitored ports HA uptime priority FortiGate serial number. D. A connected monitored ports system uptime priority FortiGate serial number. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer A. When HA override is enabled, the election process is designed to enforce the administrator's intended primary device configuration. The first and most critical check is always the device's health, determined by the number of active connected monitored ports. A device with more uplinks is always preferred. If the monitored port count is equal, the process immediately moves to the configured priority. With override enabled, the device with the higher priority value will preempt the current primary, forcing a failover to ensure the preferred device is active. If priorities are also identical, the election uses HA uptime, the time the unit has been a member of the cluster, as the next tiebreaker. The final, definitive tiebreaker, should all previous criteria be equal, is the device serial number, with the highest one winning. Question 6. An administrator wanted to configure an IPS sensor to block traffic that triggers a signature set number of times during a specific time period. How can the administrator achieve the objective? A. Use IPS group signatures, set rate mode 60. B. Use IPS packet logging option with periodical filter option. C. Use IPS filter, rate mode periodical option. D. Use IPS filter, rate mode periodical option. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer, C. The correct method to block traffic based on a trigger count over time is to use an IPS filter with the rate mode set to periodical. This feature enables rate-based security by tracking the frequency of signature triggers. Within the IPS filter configuration, an administrator specifies the target signatures and sets the rate threshold, the number of triggers, and rate duration, the time window in seconds. If a source IP triggers the signature more times than the defined threshold within that duration, the filter's specified action, such as block, is enforced for a set period. This mechanism is highly effective for mitigating low-and-slow attacks, reconnaissance scans, or brute force attempts that would otherwise evade detection by triggering signatures below the threshold of a single instance check. Question 7. A FortiGate firewall policy is configured with active authentication. However, the user cannot authenticate when accessing a website. Which protocol must FortiGate allow even though the user cannot authenticate? A. LDAP. B. TCASC Plus. C. Kerberos. D. A DNS. You have 15 seconds to answer. Answer, D. When a user initiates a web request using a domain name, the client's first action is to perform a DNS query to resolve that name into an IP address. FortiGate's active authentication works by intercepting the subsequent HTTP/HTTPS traffic destined for that IP address and redirecting the user to a captive portal. If the firewall policy for unauthenticated users blocks DNS traffic, the initial name resolution will fail. The user's browser will be unable to obtain the destination IP address and, therefore, cannot establish the web session that the FortiGate needs to intercept. As a result, the authentication process is never triggered. To ensure active authentication functions correctly, FortiGate must have a firewall policy that explicitly allows DNS traffic for users before they have successfully authenticated. Don't want to miss any exam content? Visit the SPOTO website now to take a free practice exam. Or add us on WhatsApp for everything you need to know.